Hello, everybody. This is PSN, and I'm your host, Artie Decker, and we're going to take a look at week 3 of the high school football season. Looking here to this week, uh, just a quick note on some picks we made last week. We missed a few, but we got a lot of those upsets. They come through, so all in all, not too bad. But we'll continue to touch on that as we talk about these other teams. But looking here, we have Huntsville and Buckhorn, both teams looking to bounce back. I would probably give the edge to Buckhorn in that one. Big matchup here between Auburn and Prattville because Auburn played Central Phoenix very tough, but just come up a little bit short. So they're probably going to bounce back and take out Prattville as they're not quite as hot as they once was, but they're still formidable. The Grissom train probably runs out this week. You got Hewitt Trustful coming off a win over Gadsden City. This will probably get ugly pretty quick, but that takes nothing away from Grissom as I believe they've won 2, 3 games now. That's very impressive for them. And then the next game, you have the huge, probably the biggest matchup you're going to see uh, this Friday with Hoover rolling into Spain Park. These two teams don't like each other. They're the only ones representing the North in 6A and 7A for pretty much as long as you can remember, probably a decade. It's been either this team or that team. Hoover just having their normal season, and then you got Spain Park just kind of riding the wave of some success last year, and plus this year having Braxton Barker playing the way he is, they're really hot right now. But I would probably still have to go with the Bucks. This big game atmosphere, they're probably going to pull this one out. Looking here, you have the James Clemens Jets rolling into Gadsden City. Gadsden City is desperate for a win. James Clemens coming off a blowout loss to Bob Jones last week. Sort of a surprise. Maybe the Jets are not quite as good as we thought they were. And I would say Gadsden City finally gets that first win in this one. A really intriguing matchup here because you got Spartman undefeated rolling into Bob Jones. Bob Jones, as we said, finally got their first win last week, so they're a little shaky. And then you got Spartman rolling in as just red hot as can be. Coach White's got them boys rolling, and I'm gonna say that they just keep on rolling and they get the win at Bob Jones. You got Brewer rolling into Abertville. Coach Pruitt and company are probably not very happy after that beatdown loss they took to Coleman, so I would imagine Brewer's going to be in for a very long night, and the Aggies roll over them. This should be a really good game between Coleman and Oxford. You got Coleman, as we said, I believe they've only lost one game so far. Rolling into Oxford, Oxford undefeated, I believe number 3 or 4 thereabouts. Uh, but I would probably go with Oxford. But I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think Oxford should win the game though. Looking down here, we have Pell City rolling in Southside. Southside coming off a loss to a pretty close loss to Fort Payne, but still a loss nevertheless. And then you got Pell City with Coach Etcher just trying to build that program. I would probably give the edge to Pell City on this one, but it will be really close. But we're going to go ahead and go with Pell City. Looking here, this should be a fantastic game. If you like points, you like offense, like action, Benson Valley rolling into Clay Chalkville should be extremely entertaining. But as we've said, time and time again, we're going to go with the Knicks family, and Benson Valley should win this game. Saraland rolling into Blunt. Blunt is a really good team, just steamrolling people. Saraland coming off a loss. I like Blunt and probably by a pretty good margin. You got Boaz rolling into Alexandria. Always tough to play the Valley Cubs at home, and it's going to be no different on this game. We'll go with Alexandria taking out a spunky little Boaz team. We got Crossville. As we said earlier, we picked them pull the upset, and they did in a close game, just like we said they would. I mean, they're just really excited about their start of this season. Blanton Jones has been playing out of his mind. I think they'll continue to do it, and Arab struggles will continue also. And I mean, you have that the two-sided coin basically because Crosswell's red hot, and you got Arab who just can't get out of their own way. And I think Crosswell should continue to be rolling. And then we got Douglas rolling into Scottsboro. Scottsboro's going to finally get that opportunity to maybe get something positive going and get a win in that one. You got Etowah rolling into Gunnersville. This should be a big matchup uh, by the lake. But I'm gonna actually a lot of the experts are going Gunnersville, but I like this Etowah team. I like that two-headed monster in the backfield, and I'm gonna go with Etowah in the I guess you could call an upset. Looking down the list here, we have Anniston rolling into Cherokee County. Cherokee County coming off a tough loss to a really good Holt's Bluff team. They should bounce back this week and take out Anniston. This is a game I think a lot of people will overlook as DAR rolls into Westminster Christian. Both teams are really playing well, and like I say in the past, normally DAR wins this battle, but I think it'll be really tight. But I think DAR should win once again, just closer than normal. Yeah, Holt's Bluff rolling into Jacksonville. Jacksonville ain't no joke. Holt's Bluff better be ready to play, but I think the Eagles should take that one. Maybe closer than you think. Madison County rolling into North Jackson, North Jackson rather, really not playing that well. And Madison County got the big win over Etowah a couple of weeks ago. I like Madison County to maybe put it on in this one. This is another really interesting game. You got Madison Academy coming off a shocking loss to Sardis last week on the road. You got Randolph who's just steamrolling people, and Randolph almost beat Madison Academy last year. So it would not surprise me one bit if Randolph didn't win this game. But it being at home, I'm going to give it to the Mustangs, and I'm going to say they're going to get back on track and get the win. Looking down the list here, we have JB Pennington and Locust Fort. This is two teams that perennially struggle, but I'm gonna go with Pennington in a really close game. I think they take out Locust Fort in that. And then this gets back to another pick we made last week. North Sand Mountain without their best defensive player, linebacker in the middle, the leader of the defense. It really made a difference for them. But I still don't think they would have won the game, but I think it could have been a lot tighter. And you got North Sand just really struggling offensively to score, and the offensive line just it's abysmal at this point. They cannot block anybody, and that run game is just nowhere to be found. All they do is drop back and throw the ball. They've got to find something uh, consistent to move the football, and I believe they'll find it Friday night in a very lackluster Brindley Mountain. And I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be a pretty good blowout in that one. We've got Ohatchee rolling into Pleasant Valley. Pleasant Valley's playing pretty well. And Ohatchee's coming off just I think to some, a shocking loss to Randolph County. Like I said, I wasn't that shocked because I called it. Randolph County really playing well, and Ohatchee just not quite what they were last year. Lost too many people. So just keep an eye on that one. I think Ohatchee should win it, but I think Pleasant Valley will give them all they want. And then, as we just spoke about Randolph County, they host Piedmont. Randolph County, as we said, playing really well, but are they ready to step up to the plate and take on a really good, dominant Piedmont team? I don't think so. Piedmont's probably going to roll. You got Plainview rolling into Pisgah. To my knowledge, Pisgah's never beaten Plainview, and Eagles fan, your defense is just nowhere to be found. And you got this Bear team who I underestimated. To be honest with you, they really throw the ball well, run the ball well. The Wooten kid is really hard to guard. You got Bailey Dukes running it, throwing it, just being a really good dual problem. And it should be this should get ugly. To be honest with you, if the Bears play like they can and don't have a letdown coming off that big win last week, this could get ugly quick. Looking here, we have Sylvania rolling into New Hope. New Hope finally got a win last week in overtime versus Brindley Mountain. That says it all right there. And then you got Sylvania with a really impressive win over a good Cedar Bluff team, 42-0 last week. This should get ugly quick also, in the Rams roll. Big region game there with Walter Welborn rolling into Weaver. Walter Welborn playing pretty decent, and Weaver also playing pretty decent. So there's just really no edge there. But I would probably go with Walter Welborn by just a little bit. You got Asbury rolling in the section. Section coming off back-to-back wins over Gillsville and Gaston. Gaston last week 20-6, and then Asbury is just taking a beating every week, and they're just trying to find something positive to build on. And it's probably not going to be this Friday night because the line should roll. Because you got Asbury who just can't score, and you got Section who's just being really stingy on defense. I believe they've got something like 6 interceptions the last 2 weeks. Just really impressive stuff, and just misery for Asbury is what I'm seeing. And speaking of Gaston, you got them rolling into Collinsville. Both teams really young. I believe that Collinsville team's only got 4 seniors, and I'm not even sure if Gaston has a senior. So, I mean, these are really young teams that are trying to find themselves. And it makes this game really hard to pick. But Collinsville played pretty well against Cider. Only lost 27-14. And then you got Gaston, who just struggled against the I'm like as we said, Section playing pretty well, but they're just not that great. Um, I'm gonna have to go with Collinsville just because they got it at home. And Collinsville, the kid played pretty well, and Jones at quarterback played pretty well last week. And I think they could be the difference, and Collinsville should win. And then you got Ider rolling in Sandrock. Always tough to play at the Rock. Ider running the ball well, coming off a win over Collinsville. Sandrock, on the other hand, uh, you know, took I think a jarring loss to Plainview a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be interesting to see, can they get it together. It's a senior laden type team. Can they put it back together and get a big region win? I mean, this game could be the difference between playing on the road or being at home in the playoffs. The way this region is starting to shape up to be number 2 to 5. So if Ider could somehow, some way, pull this one out, it would be pretty shocking, to be honest with you, because that would pretty much set them up to be a 2 seed in the playoffs, looking way down the road if they can continue to win. So just a really big, huge, huge opportunity for both teams. And I'm going to have to go with Sandrock. I picked them at the start of the year to be number 2 in that region, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with my pick on that one. You got West End rolling into Cleveland. Cleveland really not playing well at all. West End held their own with a shaky Tanner team, so we're going to go with West End on that one. Westbrook rolling into 5. Westbrook couldn't get much going against the Rock last week. Lost 17-3. Fife's not going to be the get rich quick for them. They're going to to have a hard time scoring on them. Fife still got their problems also on offense, but the defense seems to be playing pretty decent. And also being at Fife, it's going to be a tough environment, and the Devils should roll in that one. Even if Addison Ponder can get going, I just don't see it happening. You got Winston County rolling into Tanner. Tanner, as we said, just trying to find themselves, and Winston County's just not very good. So Tanner should take care of business in that one. Looking down here, we have Galesville rolling in Cedar Bluff. Cedar Bluff really banged up right now. Took an ugly loss last week to Sylvania. Galesville, on the other hand, took an ugly loss to Section, and then another ugly loss to Spring Garden last week. It's probably not going to get any better. Cedar Bluff's really, I think, looking forward to this game because they're wanting to get back to the winning ways, and they've lost two in a row. And Gales was probably just the ticket for them. We have Maplesville and Highland Home. Highland Home's probably just going to take a beating because Maplesville was on a roll, and Highland Home's just not very good. Looking down here, we have Raglan rolling into Coosa Christian. This should be a really good game. Raglan played pretty well against a bigger classification in Ohatchee early in the year, and then Coosa Christian coming off a win, a pretty dominant win over Valley Head. Should be a really interesting game, and I'm gonna say that the young Coosa Christian team just finds a way to squeak it out and get the win. Looking here, we have Spring Garden rolling into Woodville. Woodville played some pretty good ball over the year or last couple of years, and Spring Garden's just looking to be that number two or possibly that number one in that region. And this could be one of them games. Like I say, I have my doubts about Spring Garden. This could be one of them games that could shake that whole region up if Woodville could find a way to get the win. But I'm gonna have to go with Panthers. I think Spring Garden should pull it out, but it's gonna probably be pretty close. Last game I want to mention, you got Sardis coming off an upset win over Madison Academy, so they're riding high. Gaskins and company really playing well. And then you got Geraldine coming off a big win, maybe a little bit of a shock as to the margin of victory over Pisgah. They got shut out in the very first week, but they played Fife tough. I guess that's probably something to build on. And they just exploded last week with their new quarterback. And nobody really saw that coming. But Sardis, if they can get rolling, it could be a very long night for the Bulldogs. But it being at home, that's probably going to be Geraldine's saving grace, but I would still have to go with Sardis on that one. Looking here at the polls, we have Central Phoenix City still holding strong at number one. You got Hewitt Trustle coming off that win over Gaston City, though, with a first place vote at number four. Looking here, you have Spain Park at six. Auburn holding strong at eight, even though they lost. You got James Clemens dropping out to 11 and Bob Jones at 12. Sparkman just sneaking up the board, though. They're at 13. If they could get this win this week, it might be enough to put them in the top 10. Another interesting thing here, you have Grissom at 17. I mean, who would have saw that one coming? Even though they're probably going to take a beating from Hewitt Trussell. Probably just a little bit too much out of their league. They've been playing pretty well, but they just haven't seen the kind of talent they're going to see when they play the Huskies. Looking here to 6A, you got Austin still holding strong at number one. Blunt just nipping at their heels, though, at number two. And then Pinson Valley, there's that team again, number three with 4 first place votes. And Oxford got a first place vote this past week, and they're at number 4. Defending champ Ramsey still at 5. Spanish Fort, the old veteran, at number 8. And then a newcomer there, Daphne, coming off an upset win over Saraland. They're at number 9. And Hartsville sneaking in at 10. You have, looks like Clay Chalkwood about 14. They're starting to climb the board a little bit. If they could find a way to win, they should sneak in the top 10 also. Because that would definitely be a big, big win if they could somehow knock off Pinson Valley. Looking here at 5A, you got Briarwood still holding strong at number one, St. Paul's at number two, the usual suspects, so to speak. Um, you got May Jemison. They've been playing really well this year. Nobody really saw that coming. They're at number eight. You got let's see, Gunners would probably be around 17. If they could get a win over Etowah, that would definitely help their case. You got UMS Wright at number one and 4A. You got Leeds nipping at their heels at number two. Those teams don't like each other and definitely will see each other at some point, you would think. Um, you got Holtz Bluff coming off that big win, still holding strong at number six. You got Deschler, who's a pretty sneaky little team this year. Nobody really saw them coming either. They're playing really well, and they're tied for eight this week. You got Hanley, who's lost the first two games. I really don't think anybody saw that one coming. Defending state champion at number 13, just tumbling out of the top 10. You got Madison County at number 12, and then their stock is definitely rising. And as we spoke about earlier, the Mustangs there, you got them at 15. Now, I can't remember the last time, honestly, that they've been outside the top 10. So they're looking to get back in the top 10 as soon as possible. Looking here at 3A, you got Mobile Christian still holding strong at number one. You got Piedmont at number two. You got Gordo at three, as we talked about earlier. Big matchup. You got number four, Randolph County, hosting number two, Piedmont. Something's got to give there. Um, Looking, we've got Plainview at 14 this week. So they're still creeping up the board. Just keep on winning, and they should crack it eventually. You got Colbert County at about 17 and Sylvania at about 18. So once again, they're kind of in that same boat. They just need to keep winning, and they'll eventually crack it too. You got in 2A, you got Fife still holding strong at number one. You got Lynette, though, once again picked up another vote. That's 2 weeks in a row that they've picked up a first place vote. So they now have two, and they're starting to sort of, kind of decrease that difference. I want to say, let's see, about 85 votes difference. At one point, Fife was 100 votes difference. So they're starting to narrow that margin just a little bit. Leroy coming off another big win. They hold strong at number three. Tanner, like I say, just trying to find themselves with the new coach Belser, and just kind of untanner like, I guess you could say. But they're still at number seven. GW Long, I believe, had won 34 in a row, and now this year they start out with two losses in a row. I really, that was shocking. They got them at 12, and then we got Sandrock at 13 with their win over Westbrook last week. You got Ider, though, at 14, so that's a 13 versus 14 this week. Big matchup at the Rock. Looking here at 1A, you got Maplesville out front by a mile. I mean, just a country mile, basically. They're 146 votes in first place. I mean, that's just amazing. And obviously have all the first place votes. You got Addison playing some pretty good ball there at 4. Looking here, you got Wadley just kind of creeping outside the top 10 and 11 there. You got Cedar Bluff, even though they've lost, they hadn't played in their classification yet. So you really, you got to cut them a little bit of slack. And they got them at 13. You got Spring Garden rolling in at about 17, and Notasulga having coming off just they're playing a nasty schedule. I mean, you play number two Lynette in 2A 2 weeks ago, and then this past week they get the pleasure of taking on the Maplesville Red Devils, and that was just an ugly encounter for them. And they lost that one 50-18. So Notasulga is definitely looking forward to finally getting a win tonight after taking on two really good teams. Looking back at last week, uh, you know, the team of the week, you could go in the direction of Crossville knocking off Scottsboro, but I mean, it was a good win, but Scottsboro kind of rebuilding, so that was kind of, I guess you probably foresee that one. But I would have to go with our team of the week this week. and I would go with Sardis coming back after being down 17-0, I believe, at halftime, and coming back and getting a huge, huge win. Not only just a landmark win, but the fact that it's in region also. Huge, huge win for them over Madison Academy. But that pretty much wraps up this week. Just anything you want to ask, any comments, anything like that, just hit us up on our Twitter page, and we'll see you next week. Be safe out there, and have a great weekend. And I'm signing off, saying bye from PSN. And as always, save me a spot on the fence. Goodbye.